Okay, I'm going to stop. Pause.
First speaker for tonight. Our first speaker for tonight is sharing about her parents and how they courageously set precedents in the 30s around prejudice and discrimination. This speech is a refinement of the first time she presented it as an off-the-cuff speech. Please join me in welcoming Patricia Diorio. And Mr. Timer, it's a 10 to 12 minute speech.
Thank you.
Actually, it's 5 to 7.
It is?
It's 5 to 7.
Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. I had it down as 10 to 12. Well, okay. 5 to 7. Good. Saving.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Take it away, Patricia. Thank you.
Did you hear? Joe Agnello popped the question to one of his stylists, you know, the pretty blonde one. And you know what else? She's Polish. Oh my. Gossip mongers in this town will have a field day with this. Fellow Toastmasters and guest. I was born and raised in a little town in central Connecticut called New Britain, Connecticut. It's kind of a blue collar town. And it was populated mostly by immigrants, mainly Italy and Poland. And it was amazing because there was a railroad tracks, actually literally the proverbial railroad tracks that split the town in two. And the Poles lived on the west end of town on mainly their farms and raising their gardens and animals. The Italians lived on the east end of town on the other side of the tracks in their 3-story tenements with just enough land for their olive trees, their pear trees, and their grapevines. There was 2 very large factories in town that were very much involved in the war. So the majority of immigrants in the town, regardless of their nationality, worked in the factories, but not my father. My father was very creative and enterprising. Let me tell you a little bit about my dad. Giuseppe Ciarcia Agnello was born in Sicily and came here when he was 18 years old. And he apprenticed in a barbershop. And after several years of doing this, he knew enough about doing hair that he opened up his own beauty shop. And guess what? He had 4 beauty shops before he passed. And he was very successful. If you were anybody in New Britain, you went to Joe Agnello. You went to Agnello's beauty salon. My mother, Estelle Stefania Cubas, was first generation. Actually, her name was Stefania Cubas, but she added Estelle to it. I guess she wanted to Americanize the name. Oh, I love Stefania. My dad, let me describe him to you. He was very handsome in that Italian macho kind of way. He had slick black hair, slick back black hair, big brown eyes, and a separation in his 2 front teeth. And when he smiled, gave him a very, very endearing look. And he was an impeccable dresser. What I'm going to do is going to share a screenshot here of both my parents, and then you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, good. My dad, as you can see here to the left, he was an impeccable dresser, honest to God. He looked just like he stepped out of the Godfather movie. He did. And he always looked like that. When he went to work, I can remember going to the beauty shop as a little girl, and my father would go to the beauty shop in a suit and a tie. And his pants were perfectly creased, and his shoes were perfectly shined, and he would remove his jacket, leave on his tie, and then he would put on that side button smock that hairstylists wear. Now, my mother, as I said, Estelle Stefania Cubas, if my dad looked like he stepped off the set of The Godfather, my mother looked like she stepped off the set of a Greta Garbo movie. and I'm dating myself here. I don't know how many of you know Greta Garbo or Sonia Henney, who was a very famous skater in the 40s and the 50s. She was beautiful. She was blonde, blue-eyed, and very striking. Well, my mom did not work in the factory either. My mom went to beauty school. She went to high school and then she went to beauty school. And when she graduated from beauty school, guess who hired her? Yeah, my father hired her. And stop the share here. By the way, those are my two older brothers, Ken and Ray. My brother Ken is going to be 83 this year, and my brother Ray 80. And that tells you how old I am, doesn't it? I'm 3 years apart. Okay. Well, my dad chased my mother around the beauty shop for 4 years. And she was played very, very hard to get because, dating an Italian, oh my God, dating an Italian was like a no, 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 no. But finally, my father's charms overcame her resistance and they fell in love. Now, when that happened, they were the talk of the town, quite the buzz, but it wasn't really positive. It was with disdain and comments like, that's never going to work. That's never going to happen. Well, it did happen. My dad died at 81. My mother lived till 90. And had he lived longer, they would have been married over 60 years. Now, they had a great marriage, but it wasn't a perfect marriage. They had their issues. They had their stuff, like all marriages do, but they stayed together. And I know why they stayed together. They stayed together because they really loved each other. I often say when I think of my parents, the two things they had in common were their love for each other and Catholicism. Other than that, there was a lot of difference. The lasagna, the ravioli and the pierogi, and the minestrone soup and the borscht. So there were a lot of comparisons. And I was raised with both of those nationalities and both of those kind of foods, which was wonderful. I love them. My parents set precedents in the 30s around prejudice. They came together. And my mother had 3 sisters, my Auntie Helen, my Auntie Kitty, and my Auntie Jeannie. They all married Polish men. And the marriages did not work out at all. In fact, they were, in some places, a disaster. My parents stayed together, raised my 2 brothers and I, and my dad was doing hair for 50 years, my dad did hair in the 4 beauty shops, and he was a very generous guy and the head of his family, and he actually gave the beauty shops or the opportunity to run them to his siblings, so everyone was taken care of in the Agnello family. By the way, my name is pronounced Agnello, my maiden name. And yet my father changed it to Agnello because people didn't understand that G in Italian is soft, like Agnes. So when I gave this speech a while back to one of the other clubs, a comment was, yeah, but that's not the same as an interracial marriage today or as an interracial marriage today. But you know what? My parents, in those days, it was considered a mixed marriage, period. And today a mixed marriage is usually a racial thing. But I feel that then they were setting precedents and their love kept them together. And I feel today, when people come together of different nationalities and different races, that it's through their love for each other and their willingness to really be in integrity with that love that keeps them together. And I have a theory. My theory is this. In another 50 to 100 years, if these interracial marriages continue, that racism will be a thing of the past. Do you know why? Because everybody will be a little bit of everybody. Mr. Toastmaster.